Stacey Murphy here with a video on thinning out your seeds. And this is something that you'll be doing if you planted a whole bunch of root crops and you planted them densely, and now you need to make room for those roots to grow. So about 2 weeks into the process with radishes, they are ready to be thinned, and other crops might be a little bit behind them. The best way to tell that a crop is ready to be thinned is if you start to see true leaves start to form on the crop. Now, what do I mean by true leaves? Aren't all of these things on the screen leaves? Actually, they're not. Most of what you see on the screen here are called cotyledons. Those heart-shaped first things that emerge out of the ground, those little sprouts, those are actually inside of the seed before the seed ever germinates, and they spring forth, and then after that true leaves start to emerge. And so most cotyledons have this heart-shaped nature to them, two of them, and then when they're dicots, there's two of them. And then the first true leaf grows out of that, and you can see on these plants at the fork in those cotyledons, there is sprouting at the base of that fork what's going to be the first true leaf of these radish plants. So this is the moment when it's best to thin out those radish plants to make room for the root systems to grow. So you can see in our case that we have quite a bit of radish, large radish plants that are growing, and you can see a line of turnips that are behind that, and the beets and the carrots are a little bit too small to thin. So basically what I need is a bowl and a small pair of scissors. I like a small pair of scissors. It's easy for me to use. And what I'm doing is I'm going to look at the spacing of my radishes, and I'm going to thin them out to a distance of 1 inch apart so that those radishes can grow in. And the first thing I'm doing here is separating my arugula from my radish so that it's easy to see which crop is which and I know which one to cut. And so what I'm doing is I'm essentially just cutting the plant above the soil level and just saving the leaves for salad for later, and it'll be a nice spicy lettuce mix. I use one hand to hold up the leaves of the plant that I'm going to cut, and then I use the scissors to cut the plants, and then I'm holding the plants that I just cut off, and I just place those into the bowl. One important note about this process, you'll notice that I'm not pulling out the plants that I don't want. There's two reasons that I'm doing this. One is that if I start to pull on those root systems, I'm basically going to affect the root systems of the neighboring radishes, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep them rooted in the ground. So I'm not going to pull on the plants to pull them out of the ground, so that's a no-no. The other reason why it's a benefit not to pull them out but to cut them out is that when you go to cut just above the soil line and bring those leaves into a bowl, that means that you don't even have to wash those leaves in order to go and enjoy your salad. So it's just an easier step to keep your salad really clean. Now, I'm doing this one-handed with a camera, so this is a little tricky to show you this, but what I'm doing is here I snip off a series of plants that I don't want, and then I'm going to show you basically about 1 inch apart are two radish. Now, here you can see there's now 3 radishes that are about 1 inch apart. So again, I'm just working my way. There's nothing magic about this. It just requires patience. So here I am again. I'm kind of looking. I'm like, okay, those are too close to that other radish. So I'm going to snip those, and I'm going to pull off these particular leaves that I don't that I'm going to eat as a salad. And you can see 1, 2, 3 radishes. I'm going to snip anything near that radish so that I can give that radish some room to grow. And again, notice it's taking a little bit of patience. And when you have 2 hands to work, it's a little bit faster. And so here you can see a thinned area. Now, I'm just going to keep doing this down the whole row. So how can I tell that I'm 1 inch apart? Well, basically the distance between my knuckle and the top of my thumb is about 1 inch. So you can see that those radishes where they are about 1 inch apart, and there's no exact measurement here. It's an approximation. It's all good. Nature will find its way. And what I'm doing is I am going down the entire row, and I just keep using that patience and cutting off the plants that I don't want, leaving the plants behind that I do want. Meanwhile, notice my bowl is becoming full of a delicious radish sprout salad. Now here we are with our finished line, and you can see that they are about 1 inch apart. Not perfect. It's okay, because as the radishes grow in, it'll become more apparent which ones I might need to pull out to make more space. And here you can see down that row, I'm not perfect, right? There's 3 that are on top of each other. We'll see what happens there. But pretty much the rest of the row is all good, and I have this lovely bowl of greens. Now the next row that'll go will be the turnips and then the carrots and then the beets. Those turnips, I might wait one more week on those because they're a little bit small still and I want to make sure that they're large enough for a salad. And then the carrots and the beets as well, I might wait another 2 weeks and those will come in for sprout salads as well. And there you have it. That's how to thin and that's how to have little mini salads along the way as you're growing your root vegetables.